All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're tackling a big one, something humans have wrestled with for, well, probably as long as we've been around.
Definitely one of those questions that never really goes away.
Exactly. And that is, what is morality? Is it something we just make up as we go along?
Kind of like choose your own adventure.
Yeah, or is there, like, a set of rules, a right and wrong, that exists whether we agree with it or not?
Ooh, okay, getting right into it. So objective versus subjective morality.
Right. And we've got some fascinating stuff to work with here. This excerpt argues that it's not just some philosophical debate. It claims that, get this, choosing the wrong side could have some pretty serious consequences.
High stakes stuff. Well, I mean, it makes sense. Morality underpins pretty much everything we do, how we live, our laws, how we interact.
Totally. So to kick things off, let's talk about subjective morality. This is the idea that what's right or wrong is basically up to each person, or maybe each culture.
Right, kind of like you do you and I'll do me. As long as no one's getting hurt, all good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and on the surface, it does seem pretty appealing. Like, who am I to judge someone else's choices?
Tolerance, open-mindedness, definitely positive values.
Absolutely. But the source points out that if we take this too far, things get, well, messy.
How so?
Well, if there's no real standard, no line in the sand, how do we, like, prevent people from justifying anything, even, like, theft or murder?
Ah, yeah, see, that's a major problem. If everything's relative, what's to stop someone from saying, well, in my view, stealing is okay?
Exactly. And then there's the whole issue of different cultures having totally opposite beliefs.
Cultural relativism, yeah. Like if one society says slavery is fine and another is horrified by it,
Can they both be right? That seems impossible.
exactly, it becomes this huge ethical dilemma. So that's where objective morality comes in.
Okay, so this is the idea that right and wrong are not up for debate. They're rooted in something solid, unchanging.
Right. Our source points to God's nature as this absolute standard. Like, morality is literally built into the fabric of the universe based on his character.
Ooh, that's interesting. So it's not just arbitrary rules, it's reflecting something deeper.
Yep. And they quote Malachi 3.6, "For I am the Lord, I change not." God is constant, therefore the morality derived from him is also constant.
Makes sense. But what kind of evidence do they give for this? Like, how do we know that objective morality really exists?
Well, they bring up this idea of conscience, that inner voice we all have.
Like when you're about to do something you know is wrong and you get that, like, gut feeling.
Exactly. And the source quotes Romans 2.15, which talks about God's law being written on human hearts. So even if you don't believe in God, that sense of inherent right and wrong could be evidence of a universal moral law.
Hmm. So even folks who reject the whole God thing might still be operating on some level of objective morality without realizing it. That's kind of trippy.
It is. And it leads to this super thought-provoking question. If God doesn't exist, does morality even mean anything? Is it just about survival of the fittest or whatever benefits you personally?
Whoa. That takes us into some deep philosophical territory.
Mm.
So let's talk about the practical side of things. What happens when societies actually reject objective morality?
Oh, that's where things get a little bit scary.
Right. I mean, this isn't just an academic debate. The source uses the biblical book of Judges as a warning. It says, every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Basically, everyone did whatever they wanted, no rules.
Ah.
Total chaos.
Mm.
Society literally fell apart. And honestly, you see similar patterns throughout history. When civilizations ditch absolute moral standards, things get really, really ugly.
It's like that saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Even if people think they're doing what's best for themselves, without a shared understanding of right and wrong, things devolve quickly.
So yeah, it's a pretty big deal. Bringing it back to the main point, it seems like the source is saying that true morality has to be grounded in something bigger than us, something that doesn't change with the times or depend on what's popular.
Exactly. It's not just a feeling or a cultural trend. It's rooted in eternal truth.
And to back that up, they quote Psalm 119.160, God's righteous judgments endureth forever. That's a powerful image, this idea that morality is tied to something timeless and unchanging.
It gives you a very different perspective than just whatever works for you.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground here, but it's just the tip of the iceberg, really.
Oh, absolutely. There's always more to explore.
And I think one of the most interesting questions the source raises is this. If objective morality depends on God, where does that leave people who don't believe?
Right. Like, does that mean they're just doomed to a life of moral relativism? And if so, what does that mean for society as a whole?
Yeah, that's something to really chew on. So Listeners, I hope this has sparked some thoughts. Keep those questions coming, keep digging, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.
Until next time.